Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. I'm really excited to welcome James Potter on today. So, James is the MD of Superstructures Engineering based in Ipswich, and he's also one of my enterprise advisors supporting one sixth form college in the town as well. He's got such a wealth of experience, an amazing guy, and we'll be talking a little bit more about the construction sector, some of the skills that young people need going into that sector, and also James's own experience around how he got into it, some of his top tips for young people and students as well. So we're going to bring James in now to talk a little bit more about him. James, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having a chat. Good to have an invite. Thank you.
It's nice seeing new people for once. I think it's great. How are you coping with lockdown? And are you're making sure you're keeping productive as well?
I would say I'm being very productive. We had a quick chat before, didn't we? And I was saying, it's strange for me not to have an office full of people. So whether I'm working at home, I'm actually in the office today on my own. But working at home or in the office, there aren't. I'm checking in with the team, Zoom calls and the like, and clients. But actually, there's a lot of time on my own, and so I'm being super productive. There's a lot to do. As a business owner at the moment, there's a lot to do other than the day job. So being really productive. And in terms of coping, it's okay. It's fine. I don't mind working, but I wouldn't want to be doing it for forever. That's for sure. I'm a people person. I like to be surrounded by people. So
I was going to say, likewise. I think as well. I think it's all the social aspect of business as well, just going out to see people after work. I think on a day like today, I think I'd probably be at Arcade Tavern having a G&T. But before I start reminiscing about gin, why don't we talk a little bit more about you? And I mean, firstly, I want to kick off with, what was your pathway after leaving school? So what did you do after school?
So I didn't really. So I never set out to work in construction, which is why I'm really keen to talk to young people about construction, and we'll probably come on to that later. But I left school and I did A-levels at Culture's sixth form. I did graphics, physics, art and design, and I was made to take AS level maths, and I hated AS level maths, and I didn't really like physics either. But I struggled through. I love graphics and I love art, so I wanted to be a designer. My tutors at college told me that if I wanted to be a designer, I needed to do a foundation degree in art. And about 3 weeks before I was going to start that, after my A-levels, I decided I really didn't want to do that. And I took a year out because my A-levels were good enough to go straight to uni and do a product design degree or an industrial design degree, same sort of thing. So actually, I had a bit of an odd route into uni. Went a year later than I expected to, and I did my product design degree. Yeah,
that sounds fantastic. And enjoyed uni. That was great.
Fantastic. Loved every minute of it. Really. Yeah, it was really good. Really enjoyed the experience. I loved the course. Fantastic. Really, I love variation, and we'll probably get onto that when we talk a little bit about what I do day to day. But I love variation, and an industrial design course of such variation. One day I might be drawing, sketching, I might be prototyping in workshops, building things, programming electronics, you name it. It was such a varied course, and it was brilliant. Yeah, had a great time.
So what was your first job after you left university?
Well, actually, my first job, I was temping for PowerGen at Worsted Park, which is, I know where you are now. So I spent 5 months temping, which was, again, it was great. It was in the middle of the summer. Worsted Park was a great place to be. I did that as a filler, and then I accidentally stumbled into structural engineering, basically. My mum saw an advert in the paper, and the advert was for a designer or design engineer, I think it was. I had no idea what civil engineering was or structural engineering, but I knew that I wanted to be a design engineer, so I thought I'd give it a go. So I rocked up for the interview, and they gave me a shot. So I thought I'll give it a few months and see what it's like. and actually I just loved it. So at the time I was looking for jobs in product design, got to the stage where I knew that I'd probably have to go to London and work for free for 6 months or something in a design agency, which I didn't really want to do. I was quite ambitious at the time. You know, I wanted to earn some money, wanted to buy a nice car. So I went for the employment route, and actually I just loved structures. As soon as I got into it, it was fantastic. So I sort of stumbled into structural engineering, stumbled into the construction industry, and I'm very glad that I did.
Well, I suppose that's good, you know, having lots and lots of different exposure to different sort of jobs within a sector. I think it makes it a lot broader for you as well, which I think that sort of leads us on to what do you do now? Because I can see some really impressive pictures behind you, which obviously indicates some of the work that you do. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about what you do currently.
Yeah, so as you said, you know, I'm MD of a structural engineering consultancy, and structural engineering, you know, is a sort of unknown job for most people, I suppose. When I do a lot of meeting and greeting of people, as you know, and when I talk to them and say that I'm a structural engineer, they have no idea what that means, and I have, you know, they have no idea to know what it means really, or no need to know what it means. But basically, you know, we design buildings. We're not architects. We work with architects. So architects design how a building looks, really, how it's laid out, how the space is used. We then put the maths and the physics and the common sense into working out how the building is going to stand up, what it's made out of, how it will behave, you know, whether it will blow around the wind, whether it will move around with people jumping up and down the floor, all those sorts of things, looking at the aspects in the ground and what's happening with geotechnics. And so we work with design teams, but we put maths, physics, and most definitely common sense into buildings. And so, you know, the two pictures behind me, actually, one is a finished house, a lovely, lovely house. But the one on the right-hand side of me, or it might be the left-hand side of me, whichever way you're looking, is a big steel frame of an industrial building. And that's kind of what we do. You know, we design and we create the physics and the maths behind the frameworks that sit underneath the building that you see, really.
So is it fair to say then maybe you have a more tricky job than the architects?
I would never ever say that. I would never say that. No, actually, I feel sorry for architects sometimes, because they deal with. I actually did my work experience when I was 15. I did my work experience in architecture, and it was just nothing like I thought it would be. I thought I would just be drawing buildings all day, and actually, architects have to do lots of things that are not drawing buildings. So, taking minutes of meetings, dealing with clients all day, every day, sorting out building regs, planners, all the, you know, you name it. So they have a tough job, and we also have a tough job. But
good answer. Okay, so we've got a question. So what does being an MD mean? So MD is obviously managing director, the big chief, the boss. What does that mean for you in terms of perhaps some of your responsibilities?
It's interesting, actually, because, you know, the business started with just me, and it's grown since. And I have a co-director, and I have an associate, and I have team leaders, and then a team of engineers as well. So you know, when you start a business on your own, you do everything. So there are all sorts of different roles. You know, there's you're the finance man, you're the marketing man, you're actually doing the job that you're doing. So all the structural engineering, you name it, you're doing it. And actually, as a business gets a bit bigger, you grow your team, and you need to structure your team so that everybody knows what they're doing and everybody has responsibility, or they know what their responsibilities are. And as a managing director, you take overall responsibility for the business. There are elements that I don't do much of, so I don't actually do that much structural engineering in terms of the nitty-gritty numbers anymore. But I do, you know, obviously finance, really important, new business in, really important, looking at the systems within the business, and then just overseeing how people are being trained and how people are progressing within the business. So the managing director role is, you know, very much probably a bit more looking after the business and looking after clients than it is doing the actual day-to-day job in hand.
Yeah, I was going to say, in addition to that, at the moment, obviously, you're taking on sort of a more heightened role around keeping the team engaged, and I suppose just because, you know, I know you're already sort of a sociable guy, and, you know, you support the team anyway, but that must be an additional challenge, just making sure that everybody is, I suppose, keeping sane in some respects as well at the moment.
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously, people need to know that the business has a plan, and that we're always working towards goals, common goals, that are agreed between us all. But there has to be somebody who is making sure that we're always online for that, and that we're always heading towards those goals, and always improving, always looking to be better. And as as an employee at the moment, it can potentially be, in the current climate, must be a little bit daunting. There are people that are furloughed, they're at home not working, hopefully training. We're trying to keep them training, and employees working just out of their comfort zone. So my job at the moment is to make sure that we communicate what's happening in the business to everybody regularly. We have 2 meetings a day with all of our employees, video meetings, and just keeping people engaged, keeping the eye on the future goals, because this is a temporary phase. We're going to come out of this, and we're going to get back to our goals and looking at the future, as we always do. So just making sure that people know that we haven't forgotten about that, and we haven't forgotten about them.
No, that's really, really good. And we've also got a question. So is there an aspect of your past study that is now more important? So maths, physics, or indeed graphic design?
Yeah, so graphic design, probably not as much, unfortunately. That was my favourite subject. So I'm a bit sad that it isn't the most important thing that I do now, but I do miss it very much. Maths is very important, and that's something that I try to talk to young people about, because I hated maths at school, really. And I did okay. I think I got a B at GCSE. I failed my AS level maths because I couldn't be bothered to turn up in the second year. So don't do that. But the reason for it was,
you're at a disadvantage there then. Yeah.
I was doing okay in my physics, and I just loved the graphics and the art stuff that I was doing. And I just, AS maths there was so much stuff that was just, that I thought was irrelevant to me. And the thing that I try and sort of tell people about is that when I design buildings with, in my job now, I use a lot of maths, and we use maybe slightly less maths than we did 5 years ago, because we have all new computer systems, and the computer systems do a lot of it, but you still need to know what you're doing. But when I was doing a lot of design work, I was hand calced with a calculator and a pen or a pencil, and I was doing maths all day. But actually, I didn't feel like I was doing maths, because I was, in my head, I was working things through to create amazing buildings, and trying to make bigger open plan spaces and huge, looking at big beams over huge glass doors and all that sort of stuff. So actually, I got to the point where I was really enjoying the maths, because I have a technical brain, and I could see a real point to it, and I could step back and I could look at all the buildings that I'd designed, and they're all standing there with my maths and physics behind them. And so now I really enjoy maths. But the point was, when I was at school and college, I had pretty much zero interest in it at all. So, but maths very important.
I was going to say, and I think a lot of it is, when you're at school, you are just focused on that problem in the exam paper, or that your teacher, or you've got the homework. Whereas I think when you get into the world of work, you are then looking at, okay, well, I'm solving this problem, but you're looking at the bigger picture. So, you're solving a problem knowing that it will result in a fantastic piece of engineering, like one of the photographs behind you. So I think it's, with a lot of students, how do you link what you're doing at school around curriculum to a potential career in the future? And also, I know yourself and a lot of other employers will go into schools and do the enterprise projects where they can do that whilst at school. I think that's really important, just to sort of conceptualize what they're actually working on. Okay, right, we've got another question. What are the best and worst aspects of your role?
So the best. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about structures first. So the best bit about structural engineering for me is starting on a project from day one. You might go to a site that's a field, and then you build that design up. You work with a team, and when you start to see it being built, it's fantastic. And when you step back and you see the finished article, you walk around your finished building. That is one of the best bits for me about structural engineering. And I'm, really at heart, I'm a designer, so I love designing things and creating things. So seeing them finished is amazing. My role at the moment, sort of running a business, really, the best bit is seeing improvement in people and seeing and feeling the team coming together, is a great thing. And we've had some really good success stories in the business with people developing and moving forward, and it's great. So that's one of the best things for me at the moment. Yeah, in my current role. The worst thing in my current role is, I suppose, external factors that you can't control, like a global viral pandemic or something. Dealing with those, you've made all your plans. We had big plans for this year, really sort of driving forward things that we wanted to do, and they're put on hold. So when things like that happen, it can be really, really frustrating, and you just have to step back and you say, okay, right, well, let's deal with the problem in hand. Let's make sure that we're doing the best we can do with the current situation, and then move on and get back to what you planned, albeit at a later date. So external factors can be difficult to deal with, and frustration.
Yeah, I'm feeling your pain on that one. But at least you get to come on this. I know that's on your bucket list. So dreams can really come true.
It's great. I've done some really good things. I've done some really good things in lockdown, and obviously, there's some online remote teaching that I've been doing for some students, and I was on Radio Suffolk a few weeks ago, and they're just different things, and they're really interesting. They're things that I probably do less of. I would still do them on a daily basis, but I'm doing more of them, which is great.
Brilliant. And we've got another question. So, what personal qualities do you look for when recruiting a new employee?
It's, for me, I mean, obviously I get their CVs and I can see that as long as they have roughly the qualifications that I'm after, and they need to have the right background, in terms of what we're doing, because what we're doing is technical, it's maths and physics based and all that sort of stuff. So they need to have a certain background, educational background, but most important is communication. And it's so difficult in an interview. It must be really difficult as a young person or anybody walking into an interview with somebody that you don't know, and you're sort of expecting to be asked loads of difficult questions, but making eye contact, just trying to be as confident as you can be. And I try to talk to people about, what they do out of work, and what their interests are, what their hobbies are, and I want them to engage with me. I want them to talk to me, and I want them to be confident, because confident people who can engage with other people, more than anything, they have the ability to ask questions when they're in the workplace, so they will always develop well. And certainly when we have people on work experience, the good work experience, people come in and they don't just sit there unsure of something to do. If they're unsure of something, they'll ask, or they'll ask for the next challenge and the next one and the next one. And so it's just having a good balance of being confident, and just try and have a chat with whoever's interviewing you, because that's one of the most important things to me. I need people to be able to communicate with clients as well, not just people in the office, and people that can talk to clients. Very, very important. So.
And I think you're right around that first bit. If you are, whether you're a young person or anybody going for an interview, it's incredibly daunting, especially if you really, really want that job. I think having those chats just around, what do you do outside of work? Do you like cycling? Do you like doing whatever? I think it instantly relaxes someone, especially if you can find something that there's some sort of relatability there, that you can say, oh, I like doing that as well. I think that just calms people down, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of young people see it as, oh, they're just going to ask me a load of questions. The business wants that person as well. You're not sat there for fun just doing interviews. So no, I think that's brilliant advice. Okay, we've got another question. So, which is more important to James when recruiting a new trainee? Qualifications, experience, or enthusiasm?
Oh, I'm going to give a terrible answer and say all three. You have to have, as I said before, there has to be qualifications. I like people to come from a slightly different background if they can. So yes, we have got people here who came with civil engineering degrees, and that's fine. That's the normal route in. But actually, I also like people that are coming in having worked somewhere else. I like people that have had roles in hospitality, customer service, so they're used to dealing with people. They might have done some work experience in hospitality, which is great. So qualification's great, and definitely enthusiasm. So we've got a degree apprentice, and we've just taken on another one to start in September. Degree apprenticeships are tough. There's no doubt about it. They're great, but they are tough. So you need to be motivated to do distance learning. You need to be motivated to learn on the job, and it's going to be hard work. And so people that are enthusiastic are people that will do well in those roles, in those apprenticeship roles.
Right, I think that's good, despite giving all three of them.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about. Okay, I'm going to ask the question, and then I'll come back to that. I want to talk a little bit more about the mentor scheme that you set up at Suffolk One. So at Suffolk One Sixth Form, you're an enterprise advisor, which is in essence someone from the business community volunteering their time to make sure that students and young people are having those really meaningful encounters with the world of work. And you set up a mentoring scheme there. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how then you ended up hiring one of those mentees as a part of it on the
Absolutely. Two. So I started by meeting you, actually. So that was great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And gave me the opportunity to be the enterprise advisor. I didn't really know what it entailed, but I knew that I wanted more young people to get into construction, and I knew that I didn't have any exposure to the construction industry at all. And I know you have enterprise advisors from other industries, which is great. So for me, I thought, opportunity to get into Suffolk One and and also do something different. I love doing things that are outside my comfort zone, and so that was something else I could do, and I thought it would be great. So done a few different things there. One-to-one interviews or mock interviews, they were good. So just sitting down with a student for an hour and preparing them for what we were talking about earlier. So an interview, just asking them questions about their CVs, and then being able to give them pointers on their CVs, making them stand out from the crowd in terms of their CVs, that sort of thing. So giving them some advice. I have then, with that, moved on to having quite a few Suffolk One students for work experience from the engineering BTEC. So interested in Suffolk One because I have a good engineering BTEC, and it's not just a structures course, it's an all-round engineering course. So they spend 2 years or sometimes 3, but I don't quite know how that works, but they do all different types of modules. So they might do vehicle maintenance, they might do some hydraulic stuff, they might do a little bit of product design stuff, electronics. So you get these well-rounded engineering students, and if they show an interest in structures, then Suffolk One put them in touch with me, and I talk to them about structural engineering, and if they might fancy doing something in construction that's not structures, then I try and put them in touch with some of my contacts in the industry as well. So that works really well. And then in terms of hiring 1 and now 2 degree apprentices, it's that network. It's the course leaders on the BTEC engineering course know that I'm looking possibly for apprentices, and they put them in contact with me, and we hold some interviews. And Liam, who's shown in the picture there, started last September. He's done really well, and it's going really well for him, and it's going really well for us. It's great for us to have an apprentice on board, and I think the learning curve for them is fantastic. It's for me it's probably my favoured way into structural engineering, because you get to learn on the job as well as you're doing your studies, and at the end of it, it's a 4-year degree with a 1-year additional qualification at the end. So actually, after 5 years, you have 5 years of working experience, you have your degree in civil engineering, and you have a professional qualification with the Institution of Civil Engineers, which is fantastic. So Liam, has been with us since September, doing really well. And we had another work experience student just before this pandemic, and he finished his work experience with us in March, and we've now signed him up to be an apprentice starting in September as well, assuming that we're all allowed back by then. So we've got 2, and there was another a student pictured there, Emma West. She has gone to work with one of my contacts at SEH Finch, which is great. So it's all about having a link with students and young people, and just educating them or opening their eyes to the construction industry and the amount of roles and the great careers that can be found, which is something that I didn't have at all. I had no idea.
No, I think that's really, really good advice. And I think I suppose there's some advice for both businesses and students. You know, if you're a business, go into schools, because that's the talent pipeline, and you can start to talk to them a little bit more about your sector, some of the misconceptions around it, but also it's a friendly face when you do turn up for interview and say, oh, I remember when you came into my school or college. And I think also from the other angle, again, with the students, if you've got, everybody's got a careers leader at their school, and if you're interested in the sector, go and speak to them. Businesses are so willing to engage with schools and colleges and young people, because they know that they need to fill positions. And if you can do that through a mentoring scheme like you set up yourself, and then onto an apprenticeship pathway, I think it's sort of a win-win for everybody really on that one. But no, I wanted to raise that because I think it's a really, really good scheme. And as you say, having Liam on board with you, and obviously students going elsewhere, I think that's really, really brilliant. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's good. Good question. Okay, so what do you suggest young people can do during this period of lockdown to support their progression into the construction industry?
So I think probably the most important thing that they could start doing is learning about the roles that are in the construction industry. So there's lots of guidance out there in terms of the roles that are in the industry. I'm pretty sure I'm currently vice chair of a committee called the SJCC, which is the Suffolk Joint Construction Committee. I'm pretty sure that if students Google that, I hope, and if they're not already there, I will ask them to put them on the website, because it's a new website. There's lots of job roles. There's a sort of description about different job roles in the construction industry on there, and that's a useful tool, because I think the consensus is that the construction industry is all just, if you want to be on a building site building, that's the only thing there is, and that's great. If you want to work on a building site and you want to be creating things with your hands, then absolutely it's a place to go. But there's so many other roles for all sorts of people. I talk to tutors at Suffolk One, and I say, I think they've got you can do an A-level in photography, and I said even students from an A-level in photography, they're probably very arty. There is a role for them, not only in the very basic terms. Do we have photographers for buildings and projects in the construction industry? Yes, we do, so we need them, but also they might make really good architectural students depending on what other A-levels they're doing. So and when I'm at careers fairs, lots of students or young people say they want to be lawyers. You can be a lawyer in the construction industry. So there's all these roles: project managers, people that deal with money, accountants, all those. You can be that person, but you can be that person in the construction industry. And the thing about the construction industry is it's always very, very busy. People, we have a huge housing shortage. We are always building, we're always creating, and therefore it's usually buoyant. I know that the government are really concentrating on getting the construction industry back to work at the moment, because they think that will be a great boost to the economy. So the construction industry is really important. I think it makes up locally about 7% of GDP. So it's a big deal, and there's always great opportunity in there.
Well, I think you've definitely sold that in terms of the construction sector to young people. I was going to say, I'll submit my application to you. Now, just as I'm conscious of time, this is a question I'm asking everybody sort of towards the end of our chat. There's obviously going to be a load of young people who are, it's already a stressful time, then now sort of considering your pathway, whether it be, you want to stay in education, or you want to go into employment or more training, whatever it may be. What's your advice to those students who are, maybe a little bit confused or not quite sure what their pathway should be? What's your advice to them?
As I've said, just talk to their careers tutors at school if they can. I'm assuming they still can at the moment. I'm assuming that they've still got contact. Do some research. And I know it's really difficult as a young person to kind of motivate yourself to do some research, but also I'd probably be asking myself some questions. You know, what sort of things do I like? What sort of things do I dislike? Where do I think I want to be in 10 years' time? Do I want to be in a job where I'm in an office all day, every day? Some people do. Do I want to be in a job where I'm outside? Do I want a mix? Do I want to be creating something? Do I want to work with big teams of people, or do I want to work on my own? All those sorts of things. So I'd be trying to get my head around where I actually wanted to be, where I thought I wanted to be. And then, you know, the internet is an amazing place. There's loads of rubbish on it, but there's loads of good stuff. So it's great to be able to get on there and do some research, and then look in your locality. I've told students before, actually, to go on to the this will probably be a big plug for their website, but go on to, you know, the EADT website or the Ipswich Star and just type in construction or whatever they're looking at, and you can see what local firms are in the press and what they're doing, how they're working. There might be articles on how they're treating their people and all that sort of stuff. So you can start to look at local firms, and it's great as a local firm or as a firm to have people coming direct. So email them and ask them if, you know, if there are vacancies or if they can help you. I always try and help people when they get in touch with me, and so get in touch with them direct. It makes a really good change, actually, when people come direct. There's a lot of young people now go straight to recruitment consultants, and that's okay. And I have lots of friends that are recruitment consultants, but it's great if people can come direct, because it shows that they've got something about them if they come direct.
Yeah. No, I think that's really sound advice. And we've got one more question just before we go. So how can we attract more women into the construction sector? Yeah, I'll leave that one to you.
Okay, great. So do what I'm doing at Suffolk One and in other places. So talk to groups of students about construction, the real construction industry. So not this very masculine world of you know, carrying huge piles of bricks around and all that sort of stuff, but the wider industry. So all of the jobs that are involved, as I said, project management, designers. There are loads of designers. Doesn't matter whether it's architects, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, all these sorts of people. And there are so many roles and so many support roles that, you know, that there is a wider industry. Don't just think of construction as working on building sites. It's a huge industry, and I think there's no reason why it doesn't appeal to either sex equally. And we are seeing more females in the construction industry, which is great, but we need more. Absolutely, we need more people. Doesn't matter if they're male or female, but we need more.
No, that's brilliant advice. Well, look, James, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy chap at the moment, but it's been amazing talking to you. It's good to know you're keeping so well. And I think you gave some great advice to students, businesses, careers leaders out there as well. So yeah, hope you have an awesome day, and yeah, looking forward to catching up in person whenever we can do that.
Likewise. Okay, thanks very much indeed.
Cheers, James. So folks, that was James Potter, Managing Director of Superstructures Engineering, talking to us a little bit more about careers in the construction sector, his own pathway into that, and also setting out a fantastic mentoring scheme at Suffolk One Sixth Form, which he has now got 2 apprentices studying for degrees with him. So some brilliant advice there to both businesses and students around how can we do more to connect education and business. So yeah, huge thank you to James and his time. You can see description below around James's business, his LinkedIn, how to contact him, etc. I'm also looking forward to hosting another Careers and Coffee this Thursday with a trio of some really, really inspiring guests, where we'll be talking about the power of mentoring and how it has changed one young care leaver's life. And I don't use that term lightly. So definitely tune in 12:30 on Thursday to hear more about mentoring. And we'll see you there for 12:30 start. So thanks so much for your time, and see you on Thursday.